All right, we are media and YouTube. My name is Zach Bates from New Jersey Thespians, and this is Michael DiBianco, the
Hi.
Education Outreach Coordinator for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Michael, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. This is so cool.
I'm very excited for this. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I miss everybody. It's just really hard not going to conferences and festivals and seeing all our friends. So I hope we I hope we all can connect. I think this is the best way to do it, virtual wise. I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for asking me to do this. You're a sweetheart.
Oh, absolutely. So before we start, can you tell us a little bit about Broadway Cares? What do you guys do? What are some of the programs you offer?
Sure. I know most people watching know who we are. We are a Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS is a grant making organization. So we work with the entire theater community across the country to raise as much money as possible so that we can give it to food banks, emergency assistance, natural disasters, anything that requires any kind of financial assistance to help folks in need. That's where we kind of jump in, and we also support the Actors Fund, which is meant to be a life-saving kind of service for any and all people that work in the industry, whether you're on stage, backstage, to the ushers, people selling the merch. Anybody that works in the industry is being helped by the Actors Fund. So that we're really kind of a financial supporter for anyone involved in the arts industry and beyond.
Okay. And is there like some big events you guys have every year, or?
Yes, we have the always popular with fans, the Broadway Flea Market, which happens every September. Hopefully we'll be back this September. I don't know, but fingers crossed. That happens in Schubert Alley every year. We have Broadway Backwards, which is a huge event, which is also for Broadway Cares and the LGBT Center in New York. Our Red Bucket Follies, the Easter Bonnet Competition. So yeah, there's events all year. That's kind of our thing. We're an events-based kind of organization that, we rely on the generous time and talents of actors and crew members and our volunteers to really help us, put on an entertaining experience for our audiences to reach out and say, join our mission, join us so that we can help those in need.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about you and personally, talk about your journey, your theater journey. How did you start with theater? Did you do shows in high school? Where did you grow up?
Absolutely.
Those kind of questions.
Well, you know what? My high school experience was quite interesting. We didn't have thespians, so that's that didn't exist. But we did one play a year. It was a small program. The director was the guidance counselor. So we didn't have much, but it was fun. It was the kind of thing where anybody could get involved. The whole school could audition. It wasn't it was a small school too. At the time, my high school, God, like 20 years ago, was like 300 people, and that was grades 7 through 12. So that wasn't very much, but there was. It was fun. I'll tell you what. I was actually talking to my boyfriend about this recently, just about the show West Side Story. I feel like no matter where you perform that show, whether it's community theater or high school or Broadway, regional, wherever, audiences love it. Like they will go. And I remember when we did that show, that was insane because there was just the whole town came out. Like we had standing room. I've never experienced standing room in a high school. It's like it was wild, but it was very exciting, and it was an awesome experience. But the thing about it was there was no one there at the time. I mean, I follow my high school like on their Facebook group or whatever, and they're always posting things about what their music department's doing now, because I think they've gotten more support over the years. I think at that time, there was no support. There was no one there. That we had a music teacher who really wanted to just really blow it up and make it something awesome, but he just didn't have the support to do so. So there was nothing there to really cultivate out of it. So I actually, and I'm sure a lot of kids do this as well. I went to a regional theater that had like a teen program outside of school, where it was kids from all over, North New Jersey, things like that. It was actually at the time the theater was called the John Harms Center for the Arts. in Englewood, New Jersey. It's now the Bergen Pack, but it was a program that was run by this incredible woman, Kathy Roy, who is now she now does the same program at the Mayo Center in I think it's in Morris County. Is the Mayo Center?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but she does the same thing there, and she was the one that really. Because when I showed an interest in it, my parents were like, well, then we have to get you training because, to do this industry, you have to sing, act, and dance and do all the things.
Yeah. She
was very much a person who treated us like professionals. She was very much like, gave us audition prep. She would bring in talent from, we were only, 20 minutes from New York. So she would bring in like Broadway talent, people that were working on Broadway, to come in and teach dance. We had Jacob Brent, who was in Cats. We had director. Oh, geez, his name just escaped me right now. And he's huge too. He's a huge director, choreographer. Casey Nicola actually came in, and this was when he was just starting to become a choreographer. Came in and choreographed our production of Grease. So,
oh wow, that's awesome.
Casey Nicola at one point. But yeah, she would bring in all this talent just to learn, the craft, and took it very seriously, and was very helpful in getting us training and also getting us into school for those. There was kids that did it as a hobby and really enjoyed it. They were extremely talented too, but it just wasn't something they wanted to do for a career. That's a thing. Yeah. For those of us who want to make a career out of it, she made sure to be like, you want to do this? Here's, I'll give you all that I can give you, and the rest is all up to you, kind of thing.
So after high school, where did you go to college? What degree did you obtain, and did you do any kind of acting or anything in college?
Well, I went to AMDA. And that's exactly where I wanted to go. That for me was, I did the whole touring of schools. We pack up the car and drive here and drive there and go see all the schools. And for me, it was that thing. I really, really, really wanted to be in New York. Mm-hmm. And that was it. AMDA for me, I think when I went was exactly what I wanted. I will admit, and this is something, kids, please keep your nose in the book, okay? Because I will admit I wasn't very focused on my studies. But that I think that has to do with there's a whole other that's a whole nother chat, but it has to do with feeling insecure as a kid. That was that time when there wasn't any kind of LGBTQ education going on in school. Right. So when you feel lost and you don't feel like you're included, you don't really put in a lot of effort. So I really didn't have a lot of confidence when I was in high school, and then when I took a day trip, my mom and I drove into the city, and we went to go see the AMDA campus. Even she felt it. The both of us were like, "This is for you. This is your place." Like, everyone was so nice. I remember the one student who gave us the tour was still there when I got accepted, and he remembered me for the tour. So that was really sweet. But it was awesome. For what I wanted to do and what I needed, it was definitely the perfect experience for me. I don't know if they still do this now, but at the time, I literally went right into it. I started in the summer semester in July because I just wanted to be in New York and just do my thing, and it was a really awesome experience. I think the interesting thing about that school is because it's so quick and you go through it so fast. It really is fast. Like I was out of there like in a year and a half because I just went back to back with all the semesters, but it really is, you really got to put in the work. You got to you get out of it what you put into it. And it was really, if the teacher says who's ready to work, you had to jump in there or else you would miss your opportunity to, get coaching on music, get your dance experience. And so that was the tricky thing. And this was before they even did, I know in the LA campus, it's like a 4-year school now. So this is way before that. But for me and what I wanted, I think it was the perfect experience because I just wanted to get out and work and just do it. And then, I graduated AMDA. I actually booked a tour right away. There was a person there who came to our showcase who wanted me to audition for, at the time, the company was called, Story Salad. It was like a children's theater company, but they were also, I think at the time, if I remember, were produced by TheaterWorks. So I got to work with TheaterWorks and do, which was an awesome experience, and kind of get guidance from them. And it was just an awesome experience doing children's theater, and then going on tour doing non-equity tours and things like that. I did a couple of those. I didn't really stick it out though. I think I definitely got a rude awakening in New York. It was definitely one of those things where it was hard. It was hard. And rightfully so. And the interesting thing was I was told it was hard, but yet for some reason that didn't click.
I got you. Yeah.
I was also kind of transitioning of like I wasn't figuring out what my type was.
Gotcha.
I wanted to do certain things performance-wise that I was not being seen as that type. Like I was, I was told many times in school, Mike, you're the funny best friend. Deal with it, and I was like, no, but that's not what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of confusion of where I even fit into like a business sense of it. Like, if I want to work, this is what you have to know yourself as a performer and know where the work is for you, kind of thing.
Right.
It was kind of my journey. And and I kind of fell out of it. I think I got, I started taking temp jobs and things like that, and it kind of turned into, I guess I don't do this anymore, kind of thing.
And is that kind of how you fell into Broadway Cares? How did you really get involved with them?
That was a journey and a half, because I always knew about Broadway Cares from the second I got to, even before I moved to New York, I knew about it just from my aunt always used to buy me the snow globe every year.
I love that snow globe.
I my 1998 snow globe, my 99, 2000 collector's items now, but I always knew who they were. Seeing Broadway shows when I was a teenager, and they doing the Red Bucket Appeal and things like that. When I went to college, I got to know a lot of dancers in the field and things like that, and they were all doing Easter Bonnet, Broadway Bears, Broadway Backwards, things like that. So I was always going to I know I can't believe I just brought up Broadway Bears now. Sorry.
I knew it was going to happen before the end of the show.
Hey, it's a great fundraiser. What are you going to do? It was just the knowledge. I always knew it was there. I always supported it because I was always an advocate, being in the LGBT community in New York, always an advocate for fighting against AIDS and HIV. Obviously, I was in a weird transition in New York coming out of the 90s into 2000, where I knew a lot of adults and a lot of young people that were still HIV positive. So it wasn't like something that was really going away, and it was still something to be concerned about. And then I was working at it was like an ad agency. I was doing just like paper pushing. But the interesting thing was, when I first started this place, I started as a temp, and I worked for these two phenomenal women, Randy Schoenfeld and Lori Nicholson, and both of them were just like the most extraordinary ladies to work for, and really, kind of whipped you into shape and made you do your work, and it was fun. I actually enjoyed working for them because they were really awesome, very strong, powerful women. And something happened. The company got bought up. You know how that stuff happened. Yeah. And we all kind of got separated, and I started working for this group that was not a very nice group of people to work for, and it was kind of miserable. But it was also around the time of the recession, so I couldn't leave.
Right.
It wasn't a time to make yourself unemployed. So my brother was working at a digital agency, a youth marketing agency, and he said, "Oh, come work with us. You would love it here. It's very like it was a very like Google, Facebook atmosphere." Gotcha. Went to work there, and then that company kind of fizzled out. And I'm like, okay, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I'm in an office right now. So I had left. I just quit. At that point, I was just like, I've got some money saved up. I'm gonna quit. It had been 8-10 years I was out of the industry. Like I didn't, I went to theater and things like that, but I didn't step in an audition room in like 8-10 years. I'm like, let's try this again. Let's see if we can make it a go again. And it went okay. It went okay. I think I was just like, oh, I don't know what I did here. And at that point I was searching on Playbill just for jobs of like, okay, well maybe you have enough experience in the arts, and then you also have enough admin experience, maybe you can find something working at an office, like a Broadway.com or Playbill, somewhere in a theatrical office where you can thrive in the energy of love for theater, but also applying all that admin experience. And I was applying here and there, and really the only one that called me was Broadway Cares, and it was applying for their internship, which at 33 years old was very interesting. And the producing director, and Joe Norton at the time, who was running education outreach, called, and I spoke to them on the phone, and they offered it to me. At that point, I had like $0 in my bank account, so it was struggling. But it was an awesome experience because I don't think I really realized what I was getting myself into. I thought I was just, a production intern helping out with, with Broadway Bears at the time. Because it's such a huge event, they need extra. Right. And that's the one that we always hire interns out of college to do to give them the experience. But I got in there and I was just like, wow, what is this place? That first day that I was in there was like, oh man, I got real lucky. Mm-hmm. I got real lucky, and I did have. And this wasn't offered to me at all. I just had the idea of like, I would really love to work here. I don't know how that's going to happen. Because nonprofits are very hard to get into because they're so small, and right. It's one of those things. If they have to have a real need for a position to really bring someone on board. And throughout the and that ended in June, and I made a lot of amazing friends with my now colleagues at work. But throughout the summer, I was just playing piano gigs here and there, little piano bar things, which was absolutely miserable. Because you get that I was working at a restaurant on Fire Island. They wanted to do like a musicals night, and I was trying to do my show tunes, and you get a whole Long Island crew in there that just wants to hear Billy Joel, and they're screaming at you for Billy Joel. So it was not a fun experience. The interesting thing was I had a conversation with. When we were out there doing the dance festival, they asked me to come out and help with the Fire Island Dance Festival that summer. And I was just hanging out with Sarah Mitchell one day. You all remember Sarah Mitchell, the fabulous Sarah Mitchell. I miss her dearly. She had said, there's going to be some movement in the education department at Broadway Cares. And I had actually from the rewinding, when I was doing the company that my brother hired me for, that youth marketing thing, I did a lot of things with college brand ambassador programs. So I had some experience working with college kids, working with high school kids that had huge social media presences and things like that. And she kind of wanted to introduce that into the education outreach world because, there were so many kids that, want to give back and want to be a representative for an organization in their schools. Like Broadway Green Alliance has like their green captains. So that's kind of like, we wanted to try something like that. So she was trying to feel out if I had any interest in joining the team, because at that time, I think Joe was leaving the organization to go pursue his dream. And I think she was moving into the position. And I think by October, I interviewed with her and interviewed with everybody, see if it was a good fit. And by November, I was working at Broadway Cares. And that's when I first found out about thespians. So
we're going to talk about that one second. But the other question I had for you is, so in your role as the education outreach coordinator, is there a typical day for you? Like you said, you go to a lot of thespian festivals throughout the year. But is there like a typical day for you?
Typical day. I mean, it starts, 10 a.m. We're in office. I'm with our communications team in our organization, which is all like the graphics folks and all the copywriters and things like that. And it's such a fun team. They're a good group. And we have our 10:30 group meeting where we kind of catch everybody up on what we're all working on and things like that, and how we, if anybody needs any support and stuff like that. And then I'm, catching up with teachers because, before this all happened and we were, quarantined home, I was working with a lot of teachers and students to set up red bucket appeals for their spring productions and things like that, shipping out the materials of the red bucket stickers and the ribbons and all things like that, and preparing for conferences and stuff like that. So a lot of it is communication between students and teachers of how we can develop a support system of our red buckets are coming up next week. How can I help you? What can I do with you with that? And, our school's coming to visit. Can you set up a talk back? Things like, all things like that. And setting up conferences, setting up workshops. And so up until March 12th, it was a pretty busy day of just communicating back and forth with students and teachers of trying to get them involved, volunteering in their hometown or at some capacity and being part of Broadway Cares and doing some sort of fundraising.
Awesome. So switching, every day I watch Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey's press conference, and he likes to say switching gears.
Switching gears.
So we are going to switch gears into.
I've been watching a lot of Cuomo. I'm a New York resident now, so.
So you said you were not a thespian in high school, but are you a thespian now?
I am. I'm an honorary thespian. Yes, Toms River High School. 7455.
Absolutely. I know. I'm wondering. I don't know if Carolyn's watching, but I'll make sure.
I have to tell you, that was I still think about that was like the coolest experience I've ever had. Like I'm not a person who gets awards. Like I never got trophies or anything in high school. I was very like low key. Just listening to my Les Mis cast recordings at home. Like I was very, a little nerd, but that was like the coolest thing of being like presented something that meant so much to everyone in that room. And it was like, I felt like welcomed into something and I felt like a part of something. And that's a nice feeling when something like Thespians, that's this really important honor and to feel like somebody welcomed me into the tribe. It was really awesome. I cried. I don't cry for anything. That was pretty. How dare you?
I know. Now that we told everybody, I think Ray from Indiana is going to try to one up us. But we'll see. We'll see. I absolutely love Ray. He's a great guy. I know you're very close with them.
I miss everybody. This stinks. I mean, I know. Listen, I would rather everyone be home and be safe and be taking care of themselves, but. Man, do I miss hugs. I miss hugs so bad.
I mean, you and I were supposed to get together in Tampa, and
I was so I really just felt so bad for all these kids and all these teachers that just, this is their work, like
right.
The summer. I mean, this is the thing I think people are going to realize about teachers is that they're working through the summer. It's not like, summer's out and there's nothing going on, especially theater teachers.
Oh,
they're working on their fall show. They're working on, I've talked to many teachers that, in June when school's out, we have International Festival. They're like, I'm announcing my show in a couple weeks. We have auditions in August. Like they're prepping for all this stuff. And it's like, spring got thrown off course and now summer might get thrown off course for them. And I think that's who I felt worse for was that, I have plenty of stuff to do at Broadway Cares. The everything kind of changed. And, and what we're trying to deal with this and trying to help people at the same time. But it was one of those things where there's people out there that don't have anything to do.
Right.
And it's got to be devastating when you're this creative person and you can't do that. And it's hard. I think it's hard for teachers to teach virtually.
Yeah.
An acting class. I mean, you can't have an acting class. I mean, you can. I think it's brilliant that they're doing it, but it's got to be a really big struggle not to be with your kids
and
not be thriving creatively. I think that's got to be really, really hard. And I think that's what broke my heart the most was that I wasn't able to join in on all that celebration of all their hard work. And I always love when the kids do their spring shows of like, send me the appeal, send me the curtain call appeal, send me pictures from your productions. And I'm always so blown away by all the shows. And I got to see like nothing.
Yeah.
And it's really devastating.
If you see the screen, Carolyn is watching.
Hey, Carol.
She said, I miss you, Michael. You look fabulous. So how did you get involved in Thespians? What brought you to the organization? And when did you start getting involved?
I think I have to say, I have to give Joe Norton credit for that. He really was the one that 20 years ago, thought of the brilliant idea with the North Penn Thespians, North Penn High School, Pennsylvania Thespians.
Shout out to Andrea Roney.
Yes, Andrea Roney. I miss you, girl. I was actually just chatting with her last week. Glad she's doing well.
She's on the Advocacy Leadership Network. She's an amazing person.
Amazing person. She is one of those many teachers that's like part of our Broadway. Like all you guys are all part of that Broadway Cares family of doing it. I often think of like all the schools that are not in New York. Like as like our national tours. Like, they're all doing it from afar. So like, you guys are like my Broadway national tours. But Joe Norton started that 20 years ago with a student who was a thespian at the time that was interested in bringing Broadway Cares to their school, and it just kind of grew with Educational Theater Association, with thespians across the country all wanting to do this. And here we are 20 years later, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, thespians every year. So much more involvement from the kids, putting on their own productions, presenting their own presentations that are very much like what we do at the organization. So that was going back to your question. That was my first experience of thespians. I think my first festival was, where did I go with Sarah? Oh, Sarah sent me to Texas.
Oh boy.
Texas festival. She said, go there. And I think at that time it was at the Omni in Dallas. She said, go experience, go introduce yourself, go say. And I was like, what? Any festival, Amy Jordan, you go, girl. Of all right. Festivals, like that's the one of like, wow, like what is this, and why did I never get to have this when I was in high school? So that was my first exposure to a thespian festival, and just seeing all these kids that thrive on their love of theater and the arts, getting to be in the same room and have that same energetic experience with each other. And I was like, oh man, that moment was like, I really, really, really wish I had something like this when I was in high school, because that I think it would have made me feel a lot better as a teenager about myself if I had that, because there was no, like I said, there was no LGBTQ anything, talk of anything as far as teenagers and how to support them, and no arts in my high school at all. So I was just like a lost cause of, I have no gay friends and I have no theater to thrive on. So what am I going to do? So yeah, all I had was my cast report. But I think if I had a New Jersey thespian conference to go to hop in the car, go for the weekend, and just hang out with like kids that just love musicals and could just like thrive and wear all my show wear all my show shirts and have everyone love my Les Mis sweatshirt and not make fun of it, I think that would have been awesome. But I think the cool thing now is that as an adult, I think what's so awesome about this program is that like even the teachers, we're all young at heart. We're all we're all theater kids, at heart. So it's nice to feel that way, even as an adult. You're representing your organization. You're being the kind of leadership there. But it's also kind of cool to kind of hang with the kids and discuss playbills and discuss Broadway and be like, oh my God, I love that show. Oh my God, I love that song. So it's really cool to kind of geek out a little bit.
And I had told Kirsten, or I told Brian last week that he didn't know that I was a thespian in high school. Kirsten was my teacher, which everybody probably knows by now. Kirsten was my teacher. And I always went to Thespian Festival. I was never, like I was a theater kid. Like that's what I went to high school for. But I was always about Skills USA. And, I was all sports. And so I did shows. Just it was like I had a couple different levels, which, is never a bad thing. But she would have probably never told you in high school that she would have thought that I would be where I am, all involved at New Jersey Thespians, involved on the national level, still going to international thespian festivals. For, I think, 3 years after high school, I went to the Skills USA National Conference. I literally paid for myself to go because that's what I believed in skills.
Yeah,
and somehow I got going to she asked me, she's like, hey, I really need a chaperone for international, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, like I'll do anything for you. And so then I went to International Thespian Festival. I started meeting everyone, and I'm like, what did I just get myself into?
I love that though. I love that when I mean, now that I've been with the organization for like 5 years now and been in this world and gotten to know everyone, and then also going through that level of watching STOs and ITOs come and go. But then a lot of them come back because they want a chaperone. They want it. So to see them, that's fun for me when you think you're never going to see these kids again, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, you're here. And I what I'm hoping for one day is that when Broadway's up and running again, that we'll cross paths in New York. I'm actually starting to see that as a couple thespians that are going to college here in New York that past their high school experience of volunteering with Broadway Cares. Now they're doing it in their college, and a lot of them joined, a lot of the New York events that we're doing here. So it's awesome that our paths have all crossed in different ways. So I think, it's a really cool thing to experience if you're just like a fan of the arts and you just want to geek out about it and just be you. I mean, that's the best thing I think you can do for any kid, is just give them a space to just really just thrive and feel comfortable doing that, feeling comfortable like, I'm working on a scene and I gotta really go there and I gotta be, go out of myself. And I think when you have a room of hundreds of thousands of teenagers screaming, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like a football crowd.
I tell you, I went to Texas for the first time this year, and Troy, Amy, and all them, they all BK, Nicole Morgan, they all do a great job there. And I walked in the first time, and I'm just like, what am I doing?
And the cool thing is that I've noticed is every state is different. Everybody has their own theme. A lot of them are themed, but they all have their own energy, and that energy is always like up to like 1 million.
I went to Nevada for the first time this year, and I was supposed to go to both Florida and New York and North Carolina, and obviously that all got canceled. But just being the three different festivals this year.
I mean, we ended on a high note. I think this year we did. The last conference I went to was Georgia.
Oh yeah,
went to Georgia, and Georgia. It was funny because I miss my Georgia folks. That's a fun crew too. And what did I say? I was like, because they're another one that like all this. What can we do? We want to be top fundraiser. We want to do this. We want to do all these exciting, creative things to fundraise for us. And I said to Kim Staples, I was like, how do you feel about a $10,000 goal? And they did it. They so did it. They nailed it. I was like, whoa. I mean, you know what it is? Because part of me sometimes feels bad doing that, of like putting a number on it. Because for me with the kids and the teachers, it's not about how much you raise. I mean, I think I always used to have teachers that reach out and say, this is the best, we raised this much, we wish we could do more. I'm like, no. The fact that you did it at all
is amazing.
Means something to me, because you brought it to an area where they probably don't even acknowledge the word AIDS. So you never know where they're doing the fundraising. It could be a red state, blue state, not to be political about it, but you never know where you're going to be. And the fact that they do it at all is what impresses me. And so, I mean, I like those kinds of numbers, but for me with the kids and the teenagers, it's all about just doing it and just feeling involved in something, like you feel like you contributed to something. I'm not going to compare you to an event that raises $1 million. That's not what I'm looking at. Right. And for us, really, we always say every dollar makes a difference. It does. $5 goes a long way for a lot of the service organizations that we help. Whether it's getting people medication, meals. I mean, getting people a $5 meal, believe me, a healthy meal, a $5 healthy meal is very, very important. So, those small amounts are not done in vain. They're very helpful.
Since we haven't really thrown it up on the screen yet, we obviously I want to throw up there that if you want to help out Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, please visit www.broadwaycares.org/help2020. And I don't know, Michael, if you want to just explain what this link is and where this money's going.
Yeah, so this is the Help 2020 is our COVID-19 emergency assistance fund that we started basically right at the beginning of when New York just went on a shutdown. We closed our offices middle of March, right about when Broadway unfortunately closed. It was right in the middle of our bucket appeals. And at that time, it's like everyone in the arts industry just unemployed. And it was, so what we decided to do was a lot of our funds do go to the Actors Fund to support that community. So we just said we have to do this. And we started out with $1 million goal, and then that got doubled to 2 million, 3 million. Now we're past 4 million. So it's something that we created to help, all these folks that are, had a job one day and then the next day their show closed, and we don't know when it's ever going to open again. And it's made a huge difference. We've gotten reports back just from that they were able to help a lot of people and give out a lot of funds. So they're very grateful for those of you who have donated so far. And also I've created even, because I didn't want anyone to feel like, oh, I how can I help? I don't really have the money right now to support, especially if you're, a teenager right now. So I created kind of another fundraising campaign that's just for students. And you can find, I actually have just a students teachers only Facebook group. It's called The Next Generation of Broadway Cares. Yes, there it is right there. If you want to join that, there's all information on how you can, in the comfort of your own home, fundraise for Broadway Cares. I've had many schools reach out to me so far and say, what can we do? Is there some, our show got canceled. We were supposed to do a red bucket appeal. What can I do right now? And I just kind of said, kind of taking off of what Laura Benanti did for the students of like, I want to see your show. I want to see your numbers. If you had the 11 o'clock number in your production, I say do it. And if you feel like doing a fundraiser with it, just, post it on Facebook and put, add donate button, and you can donate your time and talents to raise money to help us. If that's what I'm encouraging most of the students and teachers to do, is just become a volunteer fundraiser as opposed to a donor. Because I think that's what we need now most is and I would love to just give the kids something to do so they don't feel like trapped in their house. Like, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything and I don't feel a part of anything. And I feel, especially with something right now where our leadership is kind of in this country. And, I think having something to be passionate about and use your gifts to help others, I think is something that people could really use right now. So that's another option if you want to join that. There's just a couple questions to join the group, but all the information you would need to get involved and volunteer and be a part of the fundraising is all there. And I would love to see you guys there.
And it's great that you kind of answered that, because Carolyn had asked a question, what can our thespian students do at home?
Carolyn, it's all there. And I will email that to you too, girl.
So, yeah, awesome. Let's see. Let's do some rapid fire questions, some fun ones. So what's something on your bucket list?
Oh my good. Actually, you know what? Bucket list? Just I would love to do like a tour of Europe on the Orient Express. I love trains, and I feel like that's like the bougiest train. I'm saving that for like, a milestone birthday when I can drop a lot of money on that.
Do your TikTok dance while you're at it. I'm a savage.
This is a cool experience just to do. I love trains. I love, one of my favorite musicals is Starlight Express, but that was my first, it was my first Broadway show to do. But that's like kind of, that's a bucket list. That's something I'd like to do.
That's I'm sure then you loved Anastasia, that one special effect, with the train car. Like, that was out of this. I'm like, a train car on stage. Like, this is like, out of this world.
Like, who do I know backstage that can let me play on that?
So what is your proudest accomplishment?
Oh, geez. I would have to say, I think for me I think that moment of when I kind of took a risk and really jumped at without a safety net and just kind of put myself back out there. I think is something that I never thought I would do something like that. I mean, not to say that 33 is old, but in a place where age does, in a world where age does matter and people kind of value you on that.
Right.
I think taking that jump at a risky time of like, I don't know if this could work. I think I just made myself unemployed, but it was also, I wasn't happy. I was miserable at this place. And, it was not for me. Those were not my people. I didn't know how to relate to them at all. It wasn't the kind of thing where they were bad people. It was just, they were speaking a language of digital social media that I was like, I don't understand any of this. And I'm expected to deliver something that I don't know what to do. And and it just wasn't for me. So I think it's that thing of, if you want to be happy, sometimes you got to take a huge risk and just jump without a net, and hopefully something will catch you, and something did, and it was Broadway Cares.
What is something about you people would be surprised to know?
I don't know. I'm such an open person. I mean, would they be surprised to know? That's a good question. I can't think of that right now. As far as like talents or hidden talents, or
sure. Do you have any hidden talents?
No.
I'm
not flexible at all. That's we've determined that. My boyfriend's a Broadway dancer, and we've determined that. And he's like, "You need to stretch, boo. You need to stretch."
Yeah, no, I'm not flexible either. All right. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live and why?
Oh, I would live in Italy in a heartbeat.
Great food there.
Either Italy or London, because I feel like, or just Europe in general. Europe in general is just such a they thrive on arts. I mean, opera came from Italy, obviously. Theater came from London, but I feel anywhere where I could thrive artistically, both places I visit. Plus, I have family that still lives in Rome and things like that, so there's that connection. But just anywhere where you could just be an artist, and that's like your thing that you do, kind of thing. But both beautiful places. Yeah, I would say anywhere in Europe is probably where I would live, just because their appreciation for the arts is way better than it is here.
Do you have a famous quote or motto that you live by?
Oh, I do. Oh my goodness. Oh, I got to think of it now. It's one of my favorite lines from. One of my favorite books in general, and it's a kids teen book. I love The Little Prince. I just think it's so. Oh man, I got to think of the quote. I can't think of it right now because I haven't been asked that in so long. But it's, but no, I'm very much, as far as mottos of life and things like that, I'm very much a person. Treat others as you would like to be treated, and just give everything your 110%. And try not to let outside forces kind of tell you that you're wrong or you're not doing that right or things like that. If you feel truly, follow your gut. I think is, if you feel truly passionate about something, just go for it. And there's no, in my career experience, there are no mistakes. There really aren't. I've blown it a couple times on failures and things like that. And at the time, it was like the most devastating thing in the world, and you feel like crap. But that's that thing, you learn from it, and then the next time you do it, it's brilliant because you learn. Okay, what did I do the last time? Don't do that again. So yeah, I would say trust your gut, give it your 110%, and treat others as you want to be treated.
So this is a favorite one of mine because I love it. But who is your favorite Disney character, and which Disney character do you relate to the most?
Oh my goodness, Goofy, please. I think I'm Goofy. I just did the Goofy laugh. There it is. Goofy's my favorite. I love. Who was I obsessed with when it came out, the movie? Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is my all-time favorite. Oh. And I was obsessed with Cogsworth. I don't know why. I think it was just so, like, to me, it was like my sassy queen.
It's funny. He's a great character. He's
just trying to keep order, and no one was letting him do it.
I love that. That cracks me up. What's your favorite Broadway musical? Or I don't know if we talked about that. Your Broadway musical, or do you have like a favorite Broadway song that you listen to all the time? Or?
I think I know that's such a hard question because we all have favorite. I would have to say my favorite Broadway musical is Les Mis. But I'll tell you why. That. If you, I know that show's like over 30 years old and people are like, really, girl? But if you go back, Les Mis was the Hamilton of the time,
right?
And I think for me, it's just I love the score. I just love the high drama of it, and anything that has like a turntable or a heavy beat. Yeah. But no, I just love that score. It's the one show that I've seen in multiple countries and have multiple cast recordings, and I could listen to it over and over and over again and never get sick of it.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. My first Broadway show was La Cage, and I was a sophomore in high school. Thank you, Kirsten.
No,
So
I think I know which was it. That like the marquee? Was it that one?
yeah, it was like I think Kelsey Grammer was in it.
Okay. Oh, geez, was that one? Oh man, now I feel.
So I went, you know,
that was beautiful.
It was fantastic. Except I was a naive sophomore and did not know that Kirsten didn't prepare me for this. So at intermission, I'm like, wow, there are some like really good, attractive women up there. And well, obviously they're not women. Kirsten failed to mention that to me before we went to the show. So thank you, Kirsten, for my first Broadway experience. And then we went to see.
That was actually the first time I had ever seen that show. I never saw a production before, and it's a beautiful story. And I think the interesting thing is, you know, a lot of Broadway Cares history comes from that original Broadway production in the 80s. They were the first ones to kick off the Easter Bonnet.
Oh, that's awesome.
It started at the basement of the palace during Lacage, and so that's kind of a pretty important show to us. Yeah.
And then you know, my favorites are hands down Newsies and Waitress. They're my two favorite.
I miss Waitress.
I took my mom as a present, and that was like her first Broadway show.
Oh, nice.
It was with Sarah Bareilles and Jason Mraz.
Oh,
so, I couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, please, girl.
And then I got a selfie with Jason Mraz. So I mean, what's better? Right? Like, what's better than that?
What's better than that? Stage door and realness. I Sarah Bareilles to write another musical, please. She's got a heart of gold. That gal, I'll tell you.
That one time we went to see before Great Common closed with Josh Groban and whatnot, and you know, Hamilton stage door is right next door.
So it's just all craziness going on like 46th.
So after the show, it was a Saturday matinee. Hamilton ended about the same time as Great Comet, and it was one of the New York trips. So James Monroe Englehart comes walking out. Clearly, the kids just did not care about Great Comet anymore, and they ran over to James Monroe Englehart, and he took a picture, I think, with 40 kids, and he like ever since that, I loved him. Like I didn't realize I loved him because I saw him in Memphis as what's his name? I think it was the brother, right? He played the brother in Memphis. I know he was in Memphis.
I'm gonna be right now. Now he's an absolute sweetheart. I mean that's the difference. I think I'm probably gonna get killed for this between theater and Hollywood. I mean it's a complete different mentality. I think you know you're walking out into the street and you know there's people there that appreciate your work. But I love theater people. They're just so sweet. They're so generous. I think anybody that could be that vulnerable on stage for like 8 shows a week for a couple hours, I give you props because that's not easy. That's not an easy job. It's very, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. And I think for them to be very appreciative of their audience is a very compassionate when they come out of the stage door. And because there's so many people that are at the stage door that experienced had an emotion, you know, especially with shows now like Dear Evan Hansen and that are very connected to people's, you know, emotions right now, and very putting reality out there of and being able to connect with an audience that way. I think it's, you know, you can't help but walk out of the stage door and feel this rush of energy. But I think, they're just really good people. Just even for what we do at Broadway Cares, how all of them are. Yes, I will do anything for Broadway Cares. Absolutely. It makes you feel good, especially when we do like our poster signing parties or things like that. Whenever we're involved, they're just like, you know, they're kind. They introduce themselves, they're like, "Hey, how are you? So what do you do at Broadway Cares?" and things like that. And you know, thanks for doing this. So it's nice. They're wonderful people. We just know that, you know, the most thing, the one industry that people attach ego to, you know, the theater, the one that the theater folks are the most humble and the most grounded people.
And that's actually how we met Patty Murin. Was my student was very interested in costuming, and he just loved her costumes. We were at Anastasia, and of course, you know, they're right across the street from each other. Yeah. So, like I feel like every Broadway show ends about the same time. Just I don't, you know.
Yeah, they all get around. Yeah.
So we ran across the street real quick, and she was literally about to get in her car, and like, her big security guards are like blocking her, and I like yelled to her, and she like said, she told them like, "Yo, back off," kind of thing, and she came out and got a selfie with us and everything.
Oh,
and,
that's sweet.
I mean, I knew who she was. She's in Chicago Med. She played one of the doctors in Chicago Med. So like seeing her on stage and then realizing she's married to Colin O'Donnell, who was also a doctor on Chicago Med. That was just like a really cool connection for me, being in the, I love all those shows, being in the emergency services myself. It's funny how fake those shows are, but I just love watching them.
That didn't happen.
When they put an oxygen mask on and the bag's not inflated, I mean, that's the first step right there.
You're like, that's not real.
But you and I could probably talk all day. So let's wrap up with one other thing here. I guess one more time, how can people get involved with Broadway Cares? What are some things they can do now? And I'll throw up that the donation link again.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you feel like you just want to donate, you can go to the BroadwayCares.org, help 2020. But if you feel like you want to get more involved as a volunteer and help become a fundraiser, and don't be creative. This is the perfect time, I think, right now to really, clean the dust off all those old projects that you never get to work on and really put them out there. And like I said, join that Facebook group, The Next Generation of Broadway Cares. It's all info there of different links of fundraising, and just be creative. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's really just sharing your heart, sharing your talent with the world, and helping some folks along the way. I think that's the best thing you can do right now is just share and be open.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for watching.
Big virtual hug to all my friends. I love you guys so much. I miss you very, very much.
All right. Well, you guys take care now.
Bye, Zach. Thank you.